What's the craziest shit DARPA has done? Like the
Oh my God.
absolutely most mind-bending thing that they've created.
I think the biohybrids, because when I say that thing they have done, right? So for anyone who isn't familiar with DARPA, right? It's the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, a mouthful.
They added the D
They added
later,
the
right?
D, but it is the most powerful, most secretive, most productive military agency in the world. And I kind of believe that before I wrote the book, most people had not heard of DARPA. I mean, I think, or at least when I was doing press for it, it was like
I think
shocking.
you're right about that.
So that's fascinating. And part of that has to do with DARPA likes the public perception of, that they like do all these things for the good of humanity. And actually, we know from the declassified documents again, or actually, this was not declassified. This was the statement by the first SecDef at the time, the SecDef at the time that the DARPA was created, Neil McElroy, an advertising executive who became a Secretary of Defense. He said he went to Congress to get the funding, and he said this agency is going to create the vast weapon systems of the future. That is what DARPA does. They are always 20 years ahead of anything that you or I know. So any technology that is like, what the hell was that I just saw and you're not supposed to have seen, that's DARPA.
90s, right?
They are always doing things 20 years
Yeah.
before you know about them because they do what is called blue sky technology,
Blue sky
right?
research and
Yes.
technology, yes.
And they have to be ahead of the curve. They have
That's
to be,
amazing.
right?
Is DARPA the only I mean, when it comes to this kind of stuff, like innovating weapons for defense and national security, that's probably the only thing, the only apparatus that exists that's doing unlimited blue sky sort of research and development, right?
I mean,
Because they have unlimited money.
that we know of, but like, I mean, nothing surprises me anymore. And so when you find out there's like some agency you've never heard of, it's like, oh, of course, right? Like, look at NRO, the National Reconnaissance Organization, right? National Reconnaissance Office, okay? NRO was created in 1961. No one knew it existed until 1993 when it was declassified. And the first satellite technology. So when I interviewed Dr. Bud Wheelon, who was the first director of science and technology at CIA. He identified himself as the mayor of Area 51 because he worked out there. And he built the first satellite called Corona. It literally took wet film images, dropped the wet film, and the Lockheed pilots would retrieve the film as it floated. The canister of film floated down from space with a parachute attached to it.